My gold digger best friend only came around when I had a rich boyfriend. Until I started dating her baby daddy, I'm Riley. And I should have seen it coming from the first time Amber ignored my texts for 3 months straight, then suddenly showed up at my apartment with wine and tears the day after I posted a picture with Marcus on Instagram. Marcus was my boyfriend at the time. Tech executive. Nice car, nicer watch. The kind of guy who didn't blink at a $200 dinner bill. I buzzed Amber in that night because that's what you do when someone's been your best friend since middle school, even when they've ghosted you. Even when you know something's off. She hugged me at the door like we'd never missed a beat. Riley, oh my God, I've missed you so much. Work has been insane. Amber didn't have a job. She had 3 different guys she rotated between, each one thinking he was the only one. But I didn't say that. I poured the wine instead. So, she said, settling onto my couch like she lived there. Tell me everything about Marcus. He looks so handsome in your photos. Not how have you been? Not I'm sorry I disappeared. Just straight to Marcus. That was 2 years ago. I didn't realize it then, but that night set a pattern that would repeat itself over and over until it finally broke me enough to do something about it. Let me back up a little. Amber and I met in 7th grade when her family moved to our town in Ohio. She was pretty in that effortless way that made other girls either want to be her or hate her. I was the theater kid with braces and a book always in my hand. Somehow we clicked. Through high school, we were inseparable. She'd sleep over at my house almost every weekend because her home life was messy. Her mom was barely around and her dad had left when she was 5. I got it. My family wasn't perfect either, but at least my parents were present. I remember this one time in sophomore year when Amber's mom forgot to pick her up from school. We waited for 2 hours before my mom came and got both of us. Amber cried in the back seat the whole way home. I held her hand and promised her that she'd always have my family, that she'd always have me. I meant it then. I really did. College is where things started to shift. I went to state school on a partial scholarship. Amber enrolled in community college, but dropped out after 1 semester. She moved into an apartment downtown that I knew she couldn't afford. And when I asked about it, she just smiled and said she was seeing someone. That someone turned out to be Derek, 42 years old, married, owned a chain of car dealerships. I didn't judge her. Not out loud anyway. I was young and still believed that friendship meant accepting people's choices even when those choices made your stomach hurt. Amber would call me during that time, maybe once every few weeks, always late at night, always after Derek had gone back to his wife. She'd cry and say she felt worthless, and I'd stay on the phone talking her down until she felt better. Then I wouldn't hear from her again until the next crisis. I remember one particular call at 2 in the morning. I had an exam the next day, but Amber was sobbing about how Derek had promised to leave his wife and then changed his mind. I stayed up until 4 talking her through it. I failed that exam. She never even asked how it went. When Derek finally ended things, Amber disappeared completely. For 6 months, I called, texted, showed up at her apartment. Nothing. I thought maybe something bad had happened to her, but her social media was active. She was posting photos from restaurants I couldn't afford, wearing clothes that cost more than my textbooks. She just wasn't responding to me. Then I met James, my first real boyfriend after college. He was a lawyer or studying to be one. He had his life together. He took me to nice places. And suddenly, like magic, Amber reappeared. Riley! Oh my God, I've been meaning to reach out. I went through such a dark time, you know? But I'm doing better now. We should get brunch. We got brunch. She asked about James within 5 minutes. Wanted to meet him. I thought maybe she genuinely wanted to be friends again, so I introduced them. Big mistake. Amber started coming around all the time. Double dates, group hangouts. She'd text James directly to ask if we wanted to go out. At first, I thought it was nice that my boyfriend and best friend got along. Then I started noticing little things. The way she'd touch his arm when she laughed. How she'd lean in close when talking to him at bars. The texts that would come through his phone at odd hours. Hey, do you think Riley would like this gift? Or what's Riley's ring size? Just curious for the future. James thought it was sweet. I thought it was calculated. The worst part was how she'd undermine me in subtle ways. We'd all be out to dinner and she'd say things like, Riley used to be so adventurous in college. Remember when you'd stay out until 3 in the morning? You're so boring now, said with a laugh like it was a joke. But James would look at me differently after. Or she'd bring up embarrassing stories from our past. Nothing terrible, just enough to make me look foolish. Like the time I got drunk at a party and cried about a boy who didn't like me back. She'd tell that story with animated gestures, making me sound pathetic. James would laugh along, and I'd feel small. When James and I broke up, his choice, he said he wasn't ready for something serious. Amber vanished again. This time I barely noticed. I was too busy crying into pints of ice cream and wondering what was wrong with me. 3 months later, I saw James's Instagram. He was in a relationship. With Amber? No, but someone who looked eerily similar to her, blonde, petite. The type who definitely knew her angles. I blocked both of them and moved on, or tried to. I went through a rough patch after James. I gained weight, stopped doing my makeup, wore sweatpants to work meetings. My boss actually pulled me aside and asked if I was okay. I wasn't, but I said I was. My mom called during that time. She'd always liked Amber, had treated her like a second daughter. Have you talked to Amber lately? She asked. No, Mom. We're not really friends anymore. That's too bad. She always seemed to care about you so much. I wanted to laugh or cry. Instead, I just said, yeah, well, things change. It took me almost 8 months to feel like myself again. I started working out, not to lose weight, but because I needed to feel strong. I started saying yes to social events even when I wanted to stay home. I started building a life that didn't revolve around waiting for someone to love me. And then I met Marcus. I met him at a work conference in Chicago. He was keynote speaker, and I was there representing the marketing firm I'd just started working for. We connected connected over coffee, exchanged numbers, and started dating a few weeks later. Marcus was different. Older, 38 to my 27, established. He had money, sure, but he also had substance. We'd talk for hours about everything and nothing. He made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt before. He'd ask me real questions. Not just how was your day, but what made you laugh today? Or what's something you've been thinking about? He remembered details, like how I took my coffee, or that I hated cilantro, or that my favorite movie was an obscure indie film from the 90s. I didn't post about him on social media right away. I wanted to keep it private, keep it safe. But after 3 months, when he asked me to be his official girlfriend at this beautiful restaurant overlooking the city, I couldn't help myself. I posted one photo, just one. Us at dinner, his arm around me, both of us smiling. My phone rang within an hour. Riley? It's Amber. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hey, Amber? Oh my God, I saw your post. You're dating someone? Why didn't you tell me? We haven't talked in almost a year, Amber. I know. Life just got so crazy, but I want to fix that. Can I come over? I really want to hear about everything. And like an idiot, I said yes. That started a 6-month cycle of Amber being my best friend again. She was at my apartment constantly. She wanted to meet Marcus. She started commenting on all my posts, liking everything, texting me every day. Marcus liked her at first. Your friend is fun, he'd say. A little intense, but fun. Then the comments started. Little things that seemed innocent, but weren't. We'd be at dinner and Amber would say, Marcus, don't you think Riley would look amazing in red? She never wears color anymore. She used to be so stylish. Or we'd be watching a movie and she'd lean over to Marcus and whisper loud enough for me to hear, Riley always falls asleep during movies. You'll get used to it. Or the worst one, at a party with Marcus's work friends. Amber pulled me aside and said, just so you know, Marcus's coworker Jennifer was asking about you. I think she might have a thing for him. Just keep an eye on that. There was no Jennifer interested in Marcus, but the seed was planted. I found myself watching him talk to women at events, wondering if Amber was right. It caused fights. Stupid, insecure fights that I hated myself for starting. Then one night, Marcus and I were supposed to have a quiet dinner at his place. I showed up and Amber was there. Surprise, she said. I ran into Marcus at the store and he invited me to join you guys. Isn't that great? Marcus looked as confused as I felt. I actually didn't invite her, he whispered to me later. She followed me from the parking lot and I didn't know how to say no without being rude. That should have been my wake-up call. But I made excuses. Amber was lonely. She didn't have other friends. She needed me. The truth was darker than that. I started noticing that things would break between Marcus and me right after Amber hung out with us. Little comments she'd make. Marcus, you seem tired. Is Riley keeping you up too late? Said with a laugh, but the implication hanging there. Or, Riley's been so stressed with work lately. She's been kind of snappy, hasn't she? Marcus never took the bait, but I could see it wearing on him. The final straw came at Marcus's company party. It was a black tie event and I'd bought a new dress. I felt beautiful that night. Marcus looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Until Amber showed up. I hadn't invited her. Marcus hadn't invited her. But there she was, in a dress that cost more than my rent, hanging on the arm of some executive I'd never met. Riley. Marcus, what a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence. I found out later she'd stalked my social media, figured out where the event was, and convinced some poor guy to bring her as his +1. She spent the whole night inserting herself into conversations. At one point, I saw her talking to Marcus's boss, pointing at me and saying something that made him frown. When I asked Marcus about it later, he said, she told him you were thinking about quitting to focus on starting a family. Where would she get that idea? I'd mentioned once in passing to Amber that maybe someday I wanted kids. That was it. Marcus and I fought that night. Not because he believed her, but because I couldn't explain why my best friend would sabotage me like that. And the more I tried to defend her, the crazier I sounded. Why would your friend lie about something like that? Marcus asked. I don't know. Maybe she misunderstood. Riley, she specifically said you were planning to quit within 6 months. That's not a misunderstanding. Maybe she's just trying to help. Maybe she thought you should know. Know what? A lie? I couldn't answer that. Because deep down I knew. I knew Amber was sabotaging me. I just didn't want to admit it. Because admitting it meant admitting that I'd wasted years on a friendship that had never been real. We broke up 2 weeks later. Marcus said it wasn't about Amber, but I knew better. She'd poisoned the well so thoroughly that he couldn't help but see me differently. Every time I defended her, I looked more naive. Every time I made excuses for her behavior, I looked more delusional. The last thing Marcus said to me was, I really cared about you, Riley, but I can't be in a relationship where there's always going to be this third person creating drama. I need peace in my life. I didn't fight for him. I was too tired. And right on schedule, Amber disappeared. No texts. No calls. No, I'm sorry your relationship ended. Just gone. I was done. I blocked her number. Blocked her on all social media. I decided that I was better off without her toxic presence in my life. That lasted for about 8 months. 8 peaceful, Amber-free months where I focused on myself. I got a promotion at work, started therapy, which I should have done years ago. My therapist helped me understand that I'd been in a one-sided friendship based on my need to feel needed and Amber's need to feel superior. I started dating casually, nothing serious, just enjoying being young and single in the city. I went out with a guy named Ryan who worked in finance. Nice enough, but boring. Then a guy named Chris who was funny but still lived with his mom at 32. Then a couple of dates with various other guys who were perfectly fine but just not right. I wasn't looking for anything serious. I was just trying to remember what it felt like to date without Amber's voice in my head, analyzing everything, planting seeds of doubt. Then one Saturday night, I went out with some coworkers to a bar downtown. We were celebrating someone's birthday. I was on my second drink, think, laughing at some story, when I looked across the bar and saw him, Trevor. I knew Trevor from around. He lived in my apartment building 2 floors down. We'd chat in the elevator sometimes, casual stuff. Hey, how's it going? Nice weather today. Did you see they're finally fixing the hot water? That kind of thing. He was attractive in a rugged kind of way. Tall, maybe 6'2", tattoos on his forearms that I'd noticed but never asked about. Dark hair that was always a little messy. He worked construction, I knew that much. I'd see him leaving early in the morning in his work boots and jeans. He was with a group of guys, clearly having a good time. Our eyes met across the bar and he smiled. I smiled back. An hour later, he came over. Riley, right? From the building? That's me. Can I buy you a drink? I should mention something important here. I'd seen Trevor around the building for over a year. I'd also seen him with a baby carrier a few times. I'd assumed he was married or had a serious girlfriend. I'd never asked because it wasn't my business and I wasn't interested. But that night when he bought me a drink, I asked, "So, I've seen you with a baby sometimes. Are you?" "Single," he said. "Very single. My ex and I have a daughter together. Brooklyn. She's 2. We split custody, so I have her half the time." "Oh, that must be tough." "It is what it is. Her mom and I weren't right for each other, but we both love Brooklyn. We're trying to co-parent well." He seemed genuine. Sweet, even. We talked for another hour. He asked about my job, seemed actually interested in the answer, told me about his construction company, how he'd started it 3 years ago with his best friend from high school. "It's hard work," he said, "but I like building things, creating something from nothing, you know?" I liked the way he talked. No pretense. No trying to impress me. Just honest conversation. He asked for my number. I gave it to him. We started seeing each other after that. Nothing serious at first. Coffee dates at this little place near our building. Walks in the park when the weather was nice. He'd introduce me to Brooklyn through video calls, keeping things appropriate and slow. I appreciated that. I don't bring women around Brooklyn unless I'm serious about them, he explained on our 3rd date. She's already been through enough with her mom and me splitting up. I'm not going to confuse her by having random people in and out of her life. That made me respect him even more. Trevor was different from anyone I'd dated before. He was grounded. Real. He didn't have a lot of money, but he worked hard and cared about being a good father. He'd show me pictures of Brooklyn and his whole face would light up. "She's my world," he'd say. I never knew I could love someone this much until she was born. He made me laugh. Really laugh. Not the polite laugh I'd given James, or the nervous laugh I'd had with Marcus at fancy dinners where I didn't know which fork to use. Trevor made me snort laugh over stupid jokes and funny stories from construction sites. He listened when I talked. Like, actually listened. I could tell him about a problem at work, and he'd remember the details weeks later. "How did that project with the difficult client turn out?" he'd ask. Not because he was trying to score points, but because he genuinely cared. After about a month, he asked me to officially be his girlfriend. We were at his apartment. Brooklyn was with her mom. He'd cook dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and salad, but he'd put effort into it. There were candles on the table. He'd cleaned his whole apartment. After dinner, we were sitting on his couch, and he turned to me. "I know this might be complicated," he said. "I've got a kid, an ex, a job that means I'm up at 5 in the morning covered in sawdust most days. But I really like you, Riley, and I'd like to see where this goes. If you want to, I said yes without hesitation. We decided to keep things low-key on social media. Trevor wasn't big on posting anyway, and I'd learned my lesson about broadcasting my relationships. But I did post one photo of us, just a casual selfie on a hike. No tags, no location. Just us smiling. I didn't think anything of it. 2 days later, someone knocked on my apartment door at 9 in the evening. I wasn't expecting anyone. Trevor was with Brooklyn that night. I opened the door. Amber stood there and she looked awful. Her hair was messy. Her makeup was smudged like she'd been crying. She was wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie, which was weird because Amber never left the house looking anything less than perfect. "Riley," she said, her voice breaking, "I need to talk to you. Please." Every instinct told me to slam the door in her face, but she looked genuinely distressed. And despite everything, part of me still cared. "You have 5 minutes," I said. She came in and immediately started crying. "I'm so sorry. For everything. For disappearing. For being a terrible friend. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to tell you something." "What?" She took a shaky breath. "That guy you're dating, Trevor, he's my baby's father." The room tilted. "What?" "Trevor, he's Brooklyn's dad. We were together for 3 years. We broke up about 8 months ago." I sat down heavily on my couch. "You have a kid?" "Yes, I kept it private because, I don't know. I was embarrassed, I guess. I got pregnant and Trevor wanted to make it work, but I wasn't ready to be a mom. I'm still not ready. He has Brooklyn most of the time. I see her when I can, but my mind was racing. Why didn't you tell me? We were supposedly best friends because I knew you'd judge me for being a bad mom, for not wanting to be with Trevor, for everything. And you came here to tell me this now because I saw your post. I recognized him, and I needed to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "Trevor's been nothing but honest with me. Has he told you why we really broke up?" "He said you weren't right for each other." Amber laughed bitterly. "That's diplomatic. The truth is, I cheated on him. Multiple times. With guys who had more money. He found out and kicked me out. I've been trying to get him back ever since." Something clicked in my brain. "Wait, 8 months ago. That's right after Marcus and I broke up. She had the decency to look ashamed." "Yeah, you disappeared because you were dealing with a breakup, not because I'd broken up with Marcus. I'm not going to lie to you anymore, Riley. Yes, I was a mess after Trevor left. And yeah, I only came around when you were dating guys who were successful. Because I was jealous. Because my life was falling apart and yours seemed perfect. My life was never perfect. You just only bothered to check in when you wanted something from it. I know. And I'm sorry. But right now I'm here because I still love Trevor. And if you're dating him to get back at me or something," I stood up. "Get out!" out. What? I said get out. I didn't even know Trevor was your ex. I didn't know you had a kid. I didn't know any of this because you never told me. You were never a real friend to me. And now you show up here not to apologize but to stake some claim on a man you cheated on? Get out of my apartment. Riley, please. Now Amber, she left, still crying. I locked the door behind her and immediately called Trevor. Hey, beautiful, he answered. I could hear Brooklyn babbling in the background. Brooklyn just went to sleep. What's up? Did you know I'm friends with your ex? Silence. Then, what? Amber, she just showed up here. She says she's your ex. Brooklyn's mom. More silence. I could hear him moving, probably going to another room so Brooklyn wouldn't hear. Amber? Your Amber that you've mentioned? You know about her? You've talked about having a friend who was toxic, who only came around when you dated certain guys. You never said her name was Amber. Did you know it was her? Is that why you approached me at the bar? Riley, I swear to you I had no idea. I've only ever heard you call her my friend or this person. You never used her name around me, and I never connected the dots because I never thought my ex would be someone you knew. I believed him. I could hear the genuine shock in his voice. She said she wants you back, I said quietly. That's not happening, ever. She destroyed any chance of that when she cheated on me while I was taking care of our daughter. She's Brooklyn's mom, and I respect that role, but that's all she is to me now. She said she's been trying to get you back. She texts sometimes. I keep it strictly about Brooklyn. If she said anything else, I shut it down immediately. We talked for another hour. He explained the whole history. How they'd met 5 years ago at a bar, similar to how we'd met. How she'd been charming and fun at first. How she'd gotten pregnant after a year of dating, and he'd been thrilled, ready to step up. How she'd been distant throughout the pregnancy. How she'd seemed disconnected after Brooklyn was born. How he'd tried everything to connect with her, to help her, thinking maybe it was postpartum issues. How he'd found messages on her phone one day when Brooklyn was about a year old. 3 different men, all of them paying her bills, buying her things, all of them thinking they were the only one. How he'd confronted her and she'd admitted it. How she'd said she felt trapped, that she never wanted to be a mom, that she needed more than he could give her. How he'd asked her to leave and filed for custody. How he'd gotten primary custody because she barely showed up for her visitation times. How he'd spent the last 8 months trying to be both mom and dad to Brooklyn. I tried to make it work, Trevor said, for Brooklyn, but you can't build a life with someone who doesn't want to be there. And Riley, I need you to know, I'm all in with you. This isn't some rebound. I really care about you. I believed him. And that's when I made a decision. I unblocked Amber's number and texted her, we need to talk tomorrow. My place, noon. She responded immediately. Thank you. I'll be there. When she showed up the next day, she looked more put together. Like she'd slept and fixed her makeup and prepared herself for battle. I didn't let her sit down. Here's what's going to happen, I said. I'm dating Trevor. That's not changing. You had your chance with him and you blew it. Repeatedly. What you do about that is your business. But here's what I know now that I didn't know before. You were never my friend. You were someone who used me to feel better about your own life. When I was single and struggling, you ignored me. When I was happy, you showed up to tear it down. I'm done with that. I'm done with you. Riley, I'm not finished. Trevor and I are going to keep seeing each other. We're going to build something real. And you're going to be in our lives because you're Brooklyn's mom. So we're going to be civil. We're going to co-parent with you like adults. But you and me, we're not friends. We're not anything. We're just 2 people who share a connection through a good man and a little girl. Amber's face went through a series of emotions. Anger, sadness, and finally, resignation. You really care about him, she said. I do. More than you cared about Marcus or James. This isn't about them. This is about the fact that Trevor is a genuinely good person who deserves someone who's all in. And for the first time in my life, I think I can be that person. She nodded slowly. For what it's worth, he is a good person. I was too stupid to appreciate it. Yeah, you were. She left after that. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. That we'd move forward with this awkward arrangement and life would settle into some new normal. I was wrong. 3 weeks later, Trevor and I had our first official date with Brooklyn. We went to the zoo. She was excited but shy with me at first, hiding behind Trevor's legs when I said hello. But kids are resilient. Within an hour, she was holding both our hands as we walked around, pointing at animals and laughing. She had Trevor's eyes and his smile. She was wearing a little pink dress with elephants on it and light-up sneakers that she kept stomping to make flash. Look, Daddy. Monkeys, she squealed, pressing her face against the glass. Trevor lifted her up so she could see better. What do monkeys say? Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, she laughed, making monkey sounds. I took a video of them and my heart did something strange, something I hadn't expected. I looked at Trevor holding his daughter, both of them laughing, and I thought, I could do this. I could be part of this. We got ice cream after. Brooklyn got chocolate all over her face. Trevor tried to clean her up, but she kept squirming away, giggling. Finally, I said, Brooklyn, if you let Daddy clean your face, I'll show you a magic trick. She stopped squirming immediately. Magic? I did a simple coin trick that my dad used to do for me. Made a quarter disappear and reappear behind her ear. Her eyes went huge. Again! Trevor was smiling at me over her head. Not just a regular smile. A soft, grateful smile that made my chest tight. After the zoo, we went back to Trevor's apartment. Brooklyn was exhausted, practically falling asleep in her car seat. Trevor carried her inside and I followed. His apartment was a 2-bedroom, modest but clean. There were toys in the living room, organized in bins. Photos of Brooklyn everywhere. A small kitchen with cartoon magnets on the fridge. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't Marcus's sleek downtown condo with the city view, but it felt like a home. Trevor put Brooklyn down for a nap and came back out to the living room where I was looking at his bookshelf. Lots of thriller novels and construction manuals. A few children's books mixed in. Thank you, he said. For what? For today. For being so good with her. I know this is a lot. Dating someone with a kid. She's amazing, Trevor. You're doing such a good job with her. He pulled me close. I want you to know I don't take this lightly. Introducing you to her. I meant what I said about not bringing people around unless I'm serious. I know. I'm serious about you, Riley. I'm serious about you too. We kissed. And it felt different than any kiss before it. Like a promise. It was perfect. We took a photo before we left. The three of us in front of the elephant exhibit, Brooklyn's favorite. She was on Trevor's shoulders. I was standing next to them, all of us smiling. Trevor posted it on his social media that night. He rarely posted, so it felt significant. The caption was simple. Good day with my girls, my girls. Like I was already part of something. That night, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Old classmates. Distant relatives all saying the same thing. Did you see Amber's post? I checked her Instagram. My stomach dropped. She'd posted a long caption with an old photo of her and Trevor from years ago. They were younger, happy. He had his arm around her. She was looking up at him with adoration. The caption read, "Sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones we fight to get back. Trevor and I have been through so much, but we're working on our family for Brooklyn's sake. Co-parenting is hard, but when you still love someone, you make it work. Here's to second chances and never giving up on true love." It was manipulative. It was a lie. It was vintage Amber. My phone rang. Trevor, did you see? Yeah, I'm calling her right now. This is not okay. She doesn't get to do this. Wait, I said. I have a better idea. The next day, I went to Amber's apartment. I'd been there once before, years ago. It was in a nice building, nicer than mine. I'd always wondered how she afforded it. Now I knew. She didn't. Someone else did. She opened the door, looking surprised. Riley, what are you doing here? I wanted to talk. Can I come in? She hesitated but let me in. The apartment was messy. Not dirty, just cluttered. Clothes draped over furniture. Takeout containers on the coffee table. There were a few toys in the corner, but they looked unused, like decoration. No photos of Brooklyn on the walls. No evidence that a child ever spent time there. We sat down. That post you made, I said calmly. It was a lie. I'm trying to figure things out. No, you're trying to manipulate the situation. You're trying to make me look like the other woman. You're trying to make Trevor feel guilty. You're doing what you always do. Creating drama to keep yourself at the center of attention. That's not true, isn't it? How many times did you tell me you were going through something just so I'd be there for you? How many times did you create problems in my relationships so you could feel better about your own life? How many times did you use people? She didn't answer. I used to think you were my friend who had problems, I continued. Now I realize you're just a person who creates problems. There's a difference. What do you want from me, Riley? I want you to be honest with yourself, with Trevor, with everyone. About what? About the fact that you don't want Trevor. You want what Trevor represents, stability, someone who cares, but you're not willing to do the work to deserve it. You'd rather keep chasing men who give you money and attention and then feel sorry for yourself when it doesn't work out. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't know anything about my life. Then tell me. Tell me the truth. Why are you really doing this? And then something broke. Amber started crying. Really crying. Not the manipulative tears I'd seen before, but deep, gut-wrenching sobs. I'm pregnant again, she said. I felt like I'd been punched. What? I'm pregnant, 8 weeks. It's not Trevor's. I don't even know whose it is. There's 2 guys it could be. Neither of them wants anything to do with me. And I'm terrified because I can barely handle being a mom to Brooklyn. And now there's going to be another baby. And I don't know what to do. I sat back processing. Does Trevor know? No, no one knows except you. You have to tell him. If he's going to be co-parenting with you, he needs to know what's going on. He's going to judge me, probably. But he's also going to help you figure it out because that's who he is. Even though you don't deserve it. She looked at me. Why are you being nice to me? After everything I've done? I'm not being nice. I'm being honest. And the honest truth is that you need help. Professional help. You need to figure out why you keep making these choices. Why you keep hurting people. Why you can't just be happy for the people who care about you. I don't know how. Then learn. Go to therapy. Be honest with Trevor about what's going on. Stop posting lies on social media. Start being present in Brooklyn's life. And stay away from my relationship. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry, Riley, for everything. You deserved a better friend than me. Yeah, I did. I left feeling strange. Not victorious. Not angry. Just sad. Sad for Amber. Sad for Brooklyn. Sad for whoever this new baby was going to be. Sad for all the years I'd wasted trying to save a friendship that was never real. Amber did tell Trevor about the pregnancy. She called him the next day. I was there when he took the call. Watched his face go through a range of emotions. Shock, concern, and then surprisingly compassion. Okay, he said into the phone. Okay, Amber, take a breath. Have you seen a doctor yet? No? Okay, I'll help you find one. No, I'm not judging you. But Brooklyn's going to have a sibling and we need to figure out how that's going to work. Yeah, I know. It's going to be okay. When he hung up, he looked exhausted. You okay? I asked. That was a lot to process, he said. But yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. But that baby is going to be Brooklyn's sibling. I can't just pretend that doesn't matter. You're a good person, Trevor. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Amber's a mess. She always has been. But this baby didn't ask for any of this. Over the next few weeks, Trevor helped Amber find resources. A therapist. A support group for young mothers. A prenatal clinic. He even went with her to a few appointments at her request. Strictly as Brooklyn's co-parent and the future aunt or uncle of her child. I'll admit, it was hard sometimes. Watching him be kind to her when part of me wanted him to tell her off. But I also saw how it affected Brooklyn. How she seemed happier when her parents weren't fighting. How she'd talk about mama's new baby with curiosity instead of confusion. Amber took down the post. She apologized to Trevor. She started actually showing showing up for her custody days with Brooklyn. She even apologized to me one day when we crossed paths at Trevor's apartment during an exchange. "I'm trying to be better," she said. "I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm trying." I nodded. "Good. Brooklyn deserves that." That was 2 months ago. I don't know if Amber's genuinely changing or if this is just another phase. Time will tell, but here's what I do know. Trevor and I are still together. It's been 6 months now since that day at the bar. 6 months of actually healthy relationship, of communication, of meeting each other's friends and family, of building something real. Meeting Trevor's family was intense. His mom, Patricia, was protective at first. She'd seen what Amber had done to her son. But after one dinner where she watched me help Brooklyn cut her food and listened to me actually engage with their family stories, she pulled me aside. "My son deserves someone who shows up," she said. "Someone who sees what he's worth. I think you might be that person." "I'm trying to be," I said. My own family was easier. My mom fell in love with Brooklyn immediately. My dad liked Trevor's straightforwardness. "No nonsense," he said approvingly. "I like that in a person." Brooklyn calls me Riley now. No more miss. She asks when I'm coming over. She draws pictures of the three of us. Trevor says she's never been this happy. She started preschool last month and told her teacher she has a daddy and a mommy and a Riley. The teacher asked Trevor about it during pickup. He explained the situation. She smiled and said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." She's a happy, well-adjusted little girl. Last week, Trevor asked me to move in with him. We were making dinner together in his kitchen, something we'd started doing twice a week. Brooklyn was at Amber's. He was chopping vegetables and I was stirring pasta sauce when he just said it. "Move in with me." I stopped stirring. "What?" "Not immediately. When you're ready. When we're both ready. But I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want Brooklyn to have stability. I want us to be a family." "Trevor, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it." But I didn't need to think about it. Yes, I want that too. I want all of it. He kissed me, and I could feel him smiling against my lips. We decided I'd move in after my lease was up in 2 months. It gave us time to prepare Brooklyn, to figure out the logistics, to make sure we were doing this right. I haven't talked to Amber since that day in her apartment, except for brief exchanges when I'm at Trevor's during Brooklyn's pickup or drop-off. We're civil. We're cordial. We're nothing more. She's 5 months pregnant now. Starting to show. She seems more settled, though I don't know if that will last. She's been consistent with her therapy appointments, according to Trevor. She's been showing up for Brooklyn. That's all I can ask for, and I'm okay with that. Last night, Trevor and I were lying in his bed. Brooklyn was asleep in her room. We were talking about the future, about the move, about eventually getting married, not now, but someday, about maybe having a kid of our own eventually. "Are you sure you want all this?" he asked. "It's a lot. A kid, an ex, all the baggage." "You're not baggage," I said. "And Brooklyn's not baggage. This is real life. Real life is complicated, but it's also beautiful." "How did I get so lucky?" he murmured. "I'm the lucky one." And I meant it, because somewhere in the wreckage of a toxic friendship, in the middle of Amber's manipulation and lies, I'd found something real. Someone real. I used to think friendship meant sticking by someone no matter what. That it meant accepting bad behavior because you had history. That it meant putting up with toxicity in the name of loyalty. Now I know different. Real friendship is reciprocal. It's showing up when things are bad, not just when things are good. It's being happy for someone's success, not jealous of it. It's being honest even when it's hard. Amber was never capable of that. And I wasted years hoping she would change, hoping that if I just loved her enough or was patient enough, she'd become the friend I needed. But you can't change people. They have to want to change themselves. This morning, I got up early and went to Trevor's apartment. I still had my own place for another month, but I'd been spending most nights there anyway. Brooklyn was already awake, watching cartoons in her pajamas. "Riley," she yelled when she saw me, running over for a hug. I scooped her up. "Good morning, Bug. What are we watching?" "Princesses." Trevor came out of the kitchen with coffee for both of us. "You're here early." Couldn't sleep. Too excited. "About what?" "Just this. All of it." He kissed my forehead. "Me too." We made breakfast together. Pancakes with chocolate chips for Brooklyn, eggs for us. We ate at Trevor's small kitchen table, Brooklyn chattering about her cartoon and the play date she had later at her friend Emma's house. It was ordinary, simple, nothing fancy or Instagram-worthy. It was perfect. After breakfast, Trevor had to head to a job site. Brooklyn had a play date. I went back to my apartment to do some packing. As I was sorting through old boxes, I found a photo album from high school. Pictures of me and Amber at football games, at prom, at graduation. We looked so young, so happy. Part of me felt sad looking at those photos. Sad for the friendship I thought we had. Sad for the girl I was who didn't know any better. But mostly, I felt grateful. Grateful that I'd learned. Grateful that I'd gotten out. Grateful that Amber's worst behavior had led me directly to Trevor. I thought about texting her, telling her I forgave her or something. But I didn't, because forgiveness isn't always necessary. Sometimes the healthiest thing is just to let go and move on. I boxed up the photo album and put it in storage. My phone buzzed. "Trevor, miss you already. Brooklyn says she wants you to come to her play date. You up for a park afternoon?" "Me, always." I grabbed my keys and headed out, leaving the past in a box where it belonged, because my future was waiting. In a modest apartment with toys in the living room, and a good man who loved his daughter more than anything, and a little girl who drew pictures of me and asked when I'd be there. In the promise of something real and solid and true, Amber had only come around when I had something she wanted, but Trevor and Brooklyn wanted me just as I was. No conditions, no requirements, no need to be anything other than myself. That's what I'd been searching for all along. Not a friend who showed up for the good times, but people who showed up for all the times, who chose me, who let me choose them back. The other night, Brooklyn asked me a question that made my breath catch. We were reading bedtime stories. Trevor had stepped stepped out to take a work call. Brooklyn looked up at me with those big brown eyes. Riley, are you going to stay? Stay where, bug? Here, with me and Daddy. Forever? My throat got tight. Do you want me to stay? She nodded seriously. Uh-huh. You make Daddy smile more. And you do the best voices when you read stories. And you're not scary like some of Daddy's friends? I laughed. I'm not scary? No, you're nice. And you smell good. And you let me put stickers on your phone case. Well, those are all very good reasons. So you'll stay? I hugged her close. I'm not going anywhere, Brooklyn. Promise? Promise. Trevor came back in as I was finishing the story. He caught the tail end of the conversation. After Brooklyn fell asleep, he pulled me into his arms. She loves you, he said. I love her too. And you. It was the first time I'd said it. The words just came out. Trevor's eyes got shiny. I love you too, Riley. So much. We stood there in the hallway outside Brooklyn's room, holding each other, and I thought about the strange path that had led me here. If Amber hadn't been toxic, I might have stayed friends with her. If she hadn't sabotaged my relationship with Marcus, I might still be with him. If she hadn't disappeared every time I was single, I might never have learned to value my own company. If she hadn't been exactly who she was, I might never have ended up here. I'm not thankful for what she did. I'm not grateful for the manipulation and the lies and the years of fake friendship, but I am grateful for where I ended up. Sometimes the worst friendships lead you to the best things. Yesterday, I saw Amber at the grocery store. She was in the produce section looking tired. Her baby bump was prominent now. She saw me and we both hesitated. Riley, she said. Amber, how are you feeling? Tired, nauseous, the usual. When are you due? 3 months. It's a boy? That's nice. Brooklyn will have a little brother. Yeah, she paused. How is Brooklyn? She's great, happy, excited to start preschool. Trevor's doing an amazing job with her. And you're with them a lot now. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I'm moving in next month. She nodded. That's good. Trevor deserves someone who's all in. And Brooklyn deserves stability. She deserves a lot of things, including a mom who shows up. Amber flinched but nodded. I'm trying. For both of them. For all 3 of them, I guess. We stood there awkwardly. I should go, I said finally. Riley? Yeah? Thank you for being there for Brooklyn. For being good to Trevor. They're lucky to have you. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded and walked away. It wasn't closure exactly. It wasn't some big emotional reconciliation. It was just 2 people who used to be friends acknowledging a new reality. And I was okay with that. Tonight, I'm packing more boxes. Trevor's coming over later to help. Brooklyn's spending the night at Amber's, giving us time to work. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my mom. Dinner Sunday? Want to see Trevor and Brooklyn before the big move? I smile and text back. Sounds perfect. This is my life now. Sunday dinners with family. Bedtime stories with a little girl who calls me Riley but looks at me like I'm part of her world. A man who works with his hands and loves with his whole heart. A future that looks nothing like I imagined, but better than anything I could have planned. I don't know what's going to happen with Amber. I don't know if she'll figure things out or fall back into old patterns. I don't know if she'll be a good mom to this new baby, or if Trevor will end up helping raise another child that isn't his. But it's not my job to wonder anymore. It's not my job to save her or fix her or hope she changes. My job is to show up for the people who show up for me. For Trevor, who texts me good morning every day even when he's up at dawn for work. For Brooklyn, who trusts me enough to hold my hand and ask me to stay forever. For my own family, who I'd pushed aside while trying to maintain a toxic friendship. For myself, the doorbell rings. Trevor, early as always. I open the door and he's standing there with pizza and that crooked smile that makes my stomach flip. Ready to pack? He asks. Ready to start, I say, and I mean it. Ready to start this new chapter. This new life. This new version of me that doesn't need to be needed but chooses to be present. That doesn't settle for fake friendships but builds real family. That doesn't chase love but receives it. We spend the night packing boxes and eating pizza and planning where my furniture will go in his apartment. Our apartment soon. He makes me laugh telling stories about Brooklyn's latest preschool adventures. I make him laugh telling stories about my coworkers' drama. It's easy. It's comfortable. It's real. Around midnight, we're sitting on my floor surrounded by boxes when Trevor says, I can't wait for you to officially be home. Me neither. Brooklyn asked me last night if you were going to be her stepmom. My heart skips. What did you say? I said maybe someday if Riley wants to be. And she said, I think Riley wants to be. She promised she'd stay forever. She asked me that the other night. I couldn't say no to those eyes. Trevor laughs. No one can. She's got her dad wrapped around her finger. You're a good dad, Trevor. I'm trying. And you're good for both of us. Better than good. You're everything. We kiss and it still feels like the first time. Like a promise. Like coming home. Later, after Trevor leaves to get some sleep before his early call time, I sit in my quiet apartment and think about the journey. About 7th grade Riley meeting Amber and thinking she'd found a friend for life. About college Riley making excuses for bad behavior. About adult Riley finally learning that sometimes letting go is the bravest thing you can do. I think about all the versions of myself I've been. The people pleaser. The excuse maker. The girl who thought being needed was the same as being loved. And I think about who I'm becoming. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who doesn't settle. Someone who chooses herself first so she can choose others better. Amber taught me what I didn't want. Trevor and Brooklyn are teaching me what I do. And sometimes that's exactly how life works. The wrong people lead you to the right ones. The toxic friendships teach you to value the healthy relationships. The heartbreak prepares you for real love. My phone buzzes one last time before bed. A text from an unknown number. I almost don't open it, but curiosity wins. Hi, Riley. It's Amber. I know I don't have the right to ask, but could you help me pick out something for Brooklyn's birthday next month? I want to get it right this time. I understand if you can't. I stare at the message for a long time. The old me would have said yes immediately. immediately, would have seen it as progress, as Amber trying, would have jumped at the chance to help, to fix, to save. The new me sees it differently. I see a woman who's finally starting to show up, who's asking for help instead of manipulating, who's thinking about her daughter first. But I also see that it's not my job to teach her how to be a mother. That's some things she needs to figure out on her own. I type back, ask Trevor. He knows Brooklyn better than anyone. It's not mean. It's not punishing. It's just honest. It's a boundary. She responds, you're right. Thank you. I set my phone down and finish packing for the night. Tomorrow I'll wake up and go to work. Tomorrow night I'll have dinner at Trevor's, our place soon. This weekend, Brooklyn and I are going to help plant flowers in the little garden patch outside the apartment building. Next month I'll officially move in, and somewhere in all of that, Amber will have her baby. She'll figure out how to be a mom to 2 kids instead of 1. She'll either rise to the occasion or she won't. But either way, it won't be my problem to solve, because I finally learned what I should have known all along. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And you can't build a healthy life on a foundation of toxic friendship. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just being happy. Really, truly happy without them. And as I fall asleep in my apartment for one of the last times, surrounded by boxes and the promise of tomorrow, I am happy. Not despite everything that happened with Amber, not even because of it, just happy. On my own terms, with my own chosen family. And that's the ending I never knew I needed.